I'm only joking. Welcome back through Black and White Eyes. I am looking for the Villa game as well, though I do want to watch it. I hope you are all right. We've got Henry in the background waiting to come on. It's great to see him. Even all, welcome to the preview. Newcastle FA Cup 5th round match v Brighton. Please like and share, subscribe, support the channel. It's free and donate using Super Chat. Bottom right-hand corner, all profits going to charity. Adhere to community guidelines, keep comments respectful and enjoy the show. It's the usual gang in tonight. Leslie, Gary's in. And the Villa game. Yep, the Villa game is on somewhere. I do want to watch it as well. It's going to be very interesting. Someone's in front of someone watching the game, as it always is. Don't forget to say rabbits, rabbits, rabbits in the morning for good luck. All right, okay. Never heard that one before. I thought it was white rabbits, white rabbits. Oh, God, this conversation is going to go down a rabbit hole, I think. Magpie Stew, evening all. Gary, chairs, everyone. Brilliant. Right, let's bring the voice of the radio. Henry! How are we doing?
That's far too nice introduction. How are we doing?
I'm doing very well. How are you, though, after your incident?
Good. I'm fine. I'm all right. Yeah. Bit of a, yeah. For those who don't know, and why would you know? I was hit by a car last week, but I'm all good, and I've worked well to recover for this. So this is my aim, was to make this Friday show. So I've worked hard in the physio room to get here. So glad to have made it, but no, I'm fine. Could have been a lot worse.
Brilliant. Hello, Danny. I mean, I know that. Unfortunately,
yeah, your sympathy was appreciated. Thank you.
Yeah, it made you feel a little bit better.
It did, a little tiny bit. Yeah,
good. We're obviously here talking about the FA Cup game and a potential Eddie Howe double cup winning Mags.
I like that. That's good. I love AI.
It can be good, can't it? I mean, it's coming up with some silly stuff as well, I've seen, but that genius, absolute genius. The best one that I tweeted out was the Isaac one with the flute and the rats around Old Trafford. That was brilliant.
Yeah.
That was very good. So AI does have its benefits, but it also has its worst parts as well. But we won't go into that. Let's talk about the press conference first of all. So we are always pushing, always wanting more. The challenge for us is to still be in competitions after this weekend. We want to give everything to try and get into the next round. Without giving too much away before we go into lineups and things like that, are you confident he may go strong after that, what he said in the conference? Or do you think he's, just playing the mind games?
I was beforehand. I was thinking to myself ahead of the game. It's the kind of game where give Miley a run out. Maybe Harvey Barnes. He's clearly low on confidence and hasn't been performing. Maybe this is the time to get him in from the start. But having watched the press conference earlier, bits of it anyway, it seems to me as though I think he will put out a strong team, and I think we should. I think we should because the success in cups is something we've not had for a long time, and whilst we have this opportunity to be in potentially 2 cup finals, not just the one, I think go for it. I obviously hope that Isaac can make it, and if he is fit, I think he should play. But if there is a worry there about something more long term, then maybe there's a chance there for Osula or Wilson to come in. But I think he will go strong. Brighton are a great team, and at the Birmingham game we saw obviously a fairly weaker lineup than what we'd usually see, and it just worked. And I don't think he'd want to take that chance again against a Premier League side also going for Europe like us.
It's an interesting take. I'm a little bit on the other side, to be honest with you. I actually think all eggs in one basket at the moment. And I think this FA Cup round's come right at the wrong time for us. So it's going to be very interesting. He goes on to say about Isaac, of course, I haven't seen him since the game. We don't think it's long-term problem, but there was no risk taken on Wednesday, and they can't be this stage of the season. We will see how he is today and have a discussion with him. If he is fit, he will play. So kind of backing up what you said there, really.
Yeah, I think he has to. I think he has to. I understand the all eggs in one basket because I think we just have to win something. I mean, there is so much pressure on us to do that, and I think we're in a good position to. However, that final is going to be really difficult in the Carabao Cup. We saw that on obviously Wednesday. We're going to be up against a hell of a team, and even a full strength, in form Newcastle side will struggle to get a result against that kind of team. So why not have another opportunity, and hopefully get to a final against a team where we could actually, go into it potentially favourites or at least level favourites.
Come on, our luck.
Yeah. I mean, though, having said that, the FA Cup's been kind to us this time. I think
that's true.
There's been some good draws. Obviously, the Birmingham game was difficult, and any away game against lower league opposition, as we've seen over the years with Newcastle, can always be a bit of a banana skin. But to then be drawn to a Premier League side, not ideal. But at home, I think that massively improves our chances. It looks like at home recently we've kind of got our mojo back a bit. So I would be going strong and maybe taking that slight risk of playing some first team regulars who might, in other seasons gone by, be rested for that kind of game. But not everyone agrees. I understand both sides, but
I just think with our luck we'll end up with Man City in the final if we get there.
But to be in a final, I know if you're in a final you want to win it, but to be in another final is a great testament to how far we've come. We might not win either of them if and that's something that we have to psychologically prepare ourselves for.
Yes,
because I'm a realist, which rightly or wrongly, I'm a realist, and I see that Carabao Cup game, which we're both going to. Good news on your side, getting that ticket. Must be buzzing. Hopefully, it's going to be really difficult. So, but it's
so difficult.
Right. I mean, that Wednesday game was, I think, just a
shocking,
really
a
wake up call. I think that it can't be like that in the final. We have to be so much better. Yes, we missed Isak. Yes, we missed Joe Linton for sure. But a lot of it was poor. I don't think we embarrassed ourselves. I don't think teams absolutely destroy. I get destroyed. Sorry, by Liverpool this season. I don't think it was embarrassing, but the lack of chances we created was really concerning, and the defending has been just far too inconsistent recently. I think we've shipped 11 goals now last 3 or 4 league games. I can't remember the stat exactly, and it's not good enough. That's not Champions League form. But we will see. We will see.
It brings us to the question. Obviously, you mentioned the Liverpool game. I honestly feel, I don't know why, and I don't know why it's in there, but we weren't giving anything away in that game. Just no tactics, nothing, nothing trying anything different. It was like, I mean, Liverpool never got out of a second gear. Some people hate that term, but if you watched them in the second half, they knew we had nothing going forward. They were so comfortable in defending what we were doing, apart from one or two instances where Gordon got to the bar line quite early on and crossed it back and no one was there. And then there was the nice little interplay with the 1-2 when we won the free kick, and that was it. There was nothing. And I think Liverpool knew that. And I think they just, if they wanted to, if we had scored, they could have went up a level if they wanted to and scored 3, 4 or 5. But they don't want to overplay themselves as well. So it felt like a chess game. It really did. And it just felt like even manager, I mean, I don't know if obviously Ed Howe's not happy with the result, but it's a 2-0 defeat at Anfield. Like you said, other teams have been absolutely battered there.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting one.
It wasn't a disgraceful performance. And you could look at it in another way and go, well, Liverpool found that really comfortable. And as you say, could have played even better. Will we lull them to a bit of a false sense of security going into that final, and be almost overconfident going into it? We can find so many more levels. We know that. We've seen that, in patches this season where, I think we could beat any team in Europe. It's just finding that consistency again, but obviously doing it at Wembley on such a high pressure stage is something we've only done once in our history in the last 20 odd years, much longer. longer thinking about the semi-final, but obviously
to be fair though, the semi-final against Chelsea when Bobby Robson was in charge, that was probably the last very good performance at Wembley, even though it was a semi-final and it wasn't a final. But you would say we were robbed that day.
Yeah,
absolutely robbed, and that's probably the last time I left after watching a Newcastle game in a semi-final or final feeling aggrieved. All the rest of them, we've never deserved anything from them.
Never deserved anything. So that has to change. It's such a shame it's against Liverpool because they have been. You're saying this game on Sunday couldn't have come at a worse time. I don't think that game against Liverpool could have come at a worse time. Just in terms of off the back of that really questionable second half against Forest, where we nearly threw the whole game away.
Yeah, we did.
And then going into that game with Liverpool, who've all but won the title and full of confidence and have nothing to lose. The last thing you want to play is against a world-class team who've got nothing to lose. That's a recipe for disaster. So I think everything's got to go right on that day. But I think to get to 2 finals, that would be amazing. To lose both would be awful, of course. But what an achievement to have gone to those stages. And I know that's not what any Newcastle fans want to hear right now is the prospect of us losing 2 cup finals, but it's progress.
It is progress because it could be 3 finals in 3 years.
Yeah.
And I said this the last time we were talking about cup games on the channel. Name another manager who's got Newcastle to 2 finals.
Yeah. I don't know. You might know better than me. I can't.
All the way back to Joe Harvey.
Wow.
Kevin Keegan didn't do it. Bobby Robson didn't do it. Ruud Gullit and Dalglish got us to finals, but then lost their jobs. Eddie Howe is in an elite club in a way by getting us 2 finals, giving us the opportunity to actually have that, euphoric day of finally winning a trophy. There's for me, people are talking about him getting sacked and things like. If he loses this final and doesn't make a European competition, he's going to get sacked. He's not.
No, and I think that would be a crazy decision. You do see the odd nutters on Twitter calling for Red after a 2-0 loss at the soon-to-be champion.
Exactly.
I just think there needs to be some perspective. But yeah, but to the Brighton game, that's going to be a really tough game. That's huge. I can't think of a game where we've gone in where we're just so level in terms of the which way it could go. I think we're in 6th right now. Brighton are in 8th. Both going for Europe. Both teams with questionable form. I think Brighton's has picked up
a bit. Yeah,
they've had a poor Christmas and poor winter, early winter, but they've turned it around. And you get the odd clanger like a 7-0 loss to Forest. And
that was weird, wasn't it?
You think, so this is a team that has got some great players, and I think the manager, the young lad whose name escapes me, he's 32. I can't remember his name now.
I can't remember his name either. But he's basically auditioning for the Chelsea job, isn't he?
Yeah, that's what most Brighton managers do. So I think that'll be a really, really difficult game. I think
there it is.
We can take encouragement from is the Herzler.
Thank
you. And I think actually Gary's right just with that comment there. Best chance to win a trophy as well. This is why I think we have to play a strong team. I think we really need to bring everything to the table. And I just pray that we take it seriously enough and don't have this distraction of thinking about the Carabao Cup, because I think that is what some pundits have accused Newcastle of in recent weeks, is you've made the final and your focus is on that. I can't really believe that. I don't think the players are going out on that pitch thinking, wow, well, this game's good, but we've got this cup final next month.
I think it's the whole not going into 50-50s as strong as you would, worried about getting injured, that side. Because if you look at what happened last time we were in the final, we had a slump before it. And that slump came right at the wrong time because we were all thinking, oh, yeah, get a bit of form going into the final. We're going to beat Man United finally at Wembley. We're going to do it. And then, poof, we didn't turn up.
And that mentality is the mentality of a losing side. That's the mentality of, someone who a team that thinks, well, if we lose some of our best players, then we're not going to win, and that just can't be the mentality. And I think also we've got obviously the FA Cup, but we've got the Premier League to play for, and that race for Europe is one of the closest.
So tight. I've never seen it so tight before. 10th,
yeah,
10th to 3rd. I think you can throw a blanket over them.
Yeah. It's I can't remember the exact points between 10th and 3rd, but it's not.
It's 6, I think.
Is it 6? Yeah, 5 or 6 potentially.
Yeah, because we're I think we're 3 points behind Forest, aren't we?
Yeah.
And most teams are 2 points behind us. And I think maybe one's 3 points behind us. I think Villa are 10th, aren't they? Or Brighton are 10th and the 3 points behind us or something like that. So there's literally 6 covering from 3rd down to 10th, which is at this stage of the season is unheard of. You know, normally you would have your top 3, don't you? Then you have the 4th and 5th fighting it out, and then the rest are fighting out for the rest, aren't they? But to go from 10th to 3rd, still fighting for Champions League places is crazy. It's unheard of.
It's incredible. And it's just of all the seasons, this is the season where we can't take our eye off the ball with that. And I really hope they don't, because we could get out of this race very quickly with a run of bad results. So, yeah, and with, you know, we can't entirely blame the players and the manager, because there's not been any investment in the squad for a few transfer windows. And I think that was plain to see in the last sort of month, where you've got games that are running away from you. What options you got on the bench? You're bringing on players that have barely featured or are out of form or just back from injury, and aren't good enough to be in our starting lineup. So why should they be anywhere near a game like that? So it's difficult, and to be back in Europe one way or another this season, after this season, would be an incredible achievement, and obviously be massive for keeping players like Isak and Bruno if offers do come in the summer, because, you know, a Newcastle United in Europe means they're less likely to have their heads turned.
Yeah, that is very true. Eddie, on the FA Cup, again, it's a huge competition. We know the importance of it. We don't take it lightly. This will be a tough game. Brighton on great form. This should be a really exciting cup tie. Their away form has been very strong. It will be a test for us, but one I'm sure we'll rise to. I want to touch on the previous performance against Brighton, because they had our number again. 2 seasons ago, we drew 1-1, and we had a bit of a makeshift back four. But Brighton took the lead and almost held on and won the game, but we got a point that day. And they did the exact same thing this season when they came to St James's Park. They got the lead and they played the dark arts, as we like to call it. And they were fouling in the midfield, picking up yellow cards, slowing the game down, tugging shirts. Goalkeeper was taking ages over, taking goal kicks. The very astute side, they're a very good footballing side, but they're also a very astute side to the dark arts, which I think, have been guilty of not being as good at like we were 2 years ago.
I was about to say the exact same thing. Yeah, I completely agree. That's missing from our arsenal at the moment, for sure. Because, you know, that whole quote from Eddie Howe, we don't mind not being popular, or words to that effect. I think we've kind of lost that edge slightly, whether it's through not having players there, or maybe a lack of energy in the players through not having the depth in the team. But yeah, but Brighton, you know, the credit to them, that's how you beat Newcastle at home.
Yeah,
that is how you beat them at Newcastle at home. Don't give them any flow in the game, get the crowd annoyed, get them frustrated, foul, break up and target players like Bruno and whoever else in the midfield. So it's going to be a really, really difficult game. And I think, you know, as a betting man, I've had a look through the market today, and a lot of the websites you go on just to sort of kind of see what some of the bookies are thinking. A lot of them saying draw going into extra time, etc., etc. Yeah. And I have to say, I can see that. But it's just all depends on the mentality of the team going into it. I really think that's been our downfall in some of the games recently. You know, I think it was actually, you know, completely laid out to bear in the Forest game, where you've got this incredible first half, some of the best football we played all season. They've gone into that half time full of confidence and gone out and been complacent and been then shut up shop and been defensive and lost some of the confidence on the ball, and it's so brittle, our confidence, I think, in those moments. So we need a fast start. We do tend to start well against most teams,
We do.
and then it peters off for whatever reason. But has to be a strong side, and it's one of those. It's one of those, again, another game, and there's been a lot of them recently, which could define our season. In terms of getting further in another competition, perhaps not as much on it as other games we've had, but it's so important that if, for example, we did miss out on Europe, that we have a chance at 2 cups and maybe win one of them. I mean, that then goes back. You look back at that and go, well, that's been the best season Newcastle's had in its 80 years. So it's those kind of things that can rescue Newcastle season if the league form was to continue to dip. I don't think it will. I think we'll recapture some of it. Hopefully, once we regain a bit of focus. This Carabao Cup finals only in a couple of weeks' time, and there's a lot more of the season to play after that. So I think, and actually after the loss to in the final to Man United, we went on actually quite a decent run of form, and obviously beat Man United in the league. So I think there is a lot in that kind of. Is it a distraction? I'm not so sure in terms of the players' mentality, but then you look at the recent history and you kind of go, well, there's something in it, isn't there?
Yeah,
there is.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Interesting. We'll Eddie, on team news, Callum is okay. He took a cut to his eye, but he will be okay. Sven and Joe have a chance. Today is a big day for them. Today we will see how close they are, whether they train with the team for the first time or not. Knowing both players, they'll be keen to be involved. Now, Sven Botman is showing just how vital he is to our team, isn't he? Not being in the team, it's glaringly obvious now. I mean, I love Dan Burn, I love Shaw, but Shaw's not the same player alongside Dan Burn than he is alongside Botman. And now Shaw's getting a lot of pelters from fans because they're seeing some frailties in his age and his legs going a little bit. And Dan Burn puts his body on his line. He's great when we've got our backs against the wall, but when we're attacking teams and trying to be on the front foot, he slows everything down, doesn't he? And that's why Botman is so vital.
Yeah, I think without a doubt, a Newcastle side with Botman is a better side for sure. I think that the pairing of Dan Burn and Shah has been good, and I think Dan Burn's probably had his best season in a black and white shirt in a lot of ways. Yeah. I think he's been absolutely brilliant in a lot of games. I agree, going forward, he can leave a lot to be desired. However, I would say in that first half against Forest, he was unbelievable and actually went on a few of those broading runs that
he did,
which we'd often associate with Fabian Schär. You know, and it seemed that they almost switched roles there a little bit. Schär, he's aging. He's going to slow down a little bit. I think he's still got quality, but you can't rely on just having those two players as our centre backs for the rest of the season. And
exactly.
And I think they've probably got comfortable. And I think I saw a few fans giving criticism to Dan Burn actually in the Liverpool game, joking with some of the Liverpool players when we're 2-0 down. And
I saw that.
I wouldn't read too much into that. I think that's just his personality, and I don't think it's any reflection on his professionalism. But there is that. It does kind of add to that kind of that element of, are these guys a bit too comfortable? Do they need that competition? I mean, even Lascelles, I think actually the last time he was fit, was playing pretty well actually, and
he was,
and didn't disgrace himself at all. So having that lack of competition in those places has really hurt us, I think, and Botman's quality. I think his first game back, there were some shaky moments, but then after that, so solid,
superb on him.
Yeah, so solid. So he'd be brilliant, and the same goes for Joe Linton. I think he is essential in terms of what you were saying earlier about having that nasty side back to our game. There has to be a limit, obviously.
He goes a little bit too close to the limit sometimes, doesn't he?
Perhaps pushing it a few times, but you need that player that's going to intimidate the opposition in the midfield, to the enforcer in a role, which we haven't really had. Tonali gives it sometimes, but he doesn't perhaps have the athleticism and the strength that Joe Linton has. I'm also mindful that do we rush them back in?
Yeah, that's the issue for me now. It's getting very close to that final, and there's no game time for them to get warmed into it. Do you just throw them straight back into it? Will be the question when we get close to that final and do the shows. It's going to be interesting what we talk about now, because we are going to look at lineups. Mine are obviously very different to what you've gone with, but there's two. There's SofaScore have predicted a lineup, as they always do, and they go on particular on injuries and stuff like that. And then I've gone what I think he might do, and with my reasons behind it as well. Then you can tell me it's a load of shit. This is what he's going to do instead. But we'll start with Brighton first of all, because SofaScore put obviously both lineups up, and it is a very strong Brighton team, and our first chance to see what Minter's like at St James's Park in the wrong colours. Lamptey's obviously a player who's always haunted us when he's been 100% fit, and he's someone who comes in and out of that team. You know, they are a good side, and Mimitoma for me, I think he's quality. I really do.
Yeah.
I would love to pinch him, but what do you make of that side? Do you think that? Do you know much about Brighton? I mean, I know a little bit about Brighton because I speak to a Brighton fan a lot. And he tells me a lot about them.
I know a decent amount through a friend of mine who's also a Brighton fan. I think they obviously, I think, will miss some players. I think they've got a few injuries at the moment. I think I wrote them down earlier. Joel Veltman likely to miss out. Lewis Dunk also likely to miss out.
Dunk's a big miss, isn't he? I know he's not athletic, but he's a leader, isn't he?
I think Dunk's a massive miss to that back line, and we obviously saw that they do have their frailties. But that front three, you know, Danny Welbeck leading the line for a team gunning for Europe, you wouldn't think that would be
still leading the line.
but he's got a lot of quality, and he's really found his feet at Brighton. But I agree, Mitoma's the standout for me. I mean, what a player! He's a fullback's nightmare, and he's got quality to go with it as well. And Minte, I have to admit, I don't think I've seen a full game of Minte play, but I see the highlights, and obviously he's got so much quality. It'll be kind of depressing if he has a good game.
It will be, yeah.
Just to see
to rub it in
what we've lost, because I mean, you know, I know the reasons why we sometimes have to sell these players, but yeah, I think there's weaknesses in that back four, and I think that's something we could exploit if we have, you know, an informed Gordon, potentially an Isak, hopefully giving that back line a decent run for their money. I think we can cause problems, but that front line does concern me. I think there's a lot of pace and a lot of quality in there.
I've seen Minter quite a bit, and then he flatters to deceive sometimes, and then other days he just looks like he could take on the world. And it's about getting the consistency with him. Still very young, of course, very raw. It's his first Premier League season, and it does take a while for players playing in their first year in the English football to get used to it, especially the physicality side of it, which you wouldn't have got in the Dutch league. You know, they're not as strong over there, are they? They're very neat. I bet you'd say every team in every Dutch league is a very neat football inside, aren't they? Because that's their philosophy. So he's not used to the hustling and bustling of it. So it's going to be interesting to see what he plays against us, whether if the crowd can maybe get on his back early or something like that. I know we always applaud at the start of the game, but when we get into the game, we can be nasty in a obviously sensible way, and maybe get on his back a little bit and see if he folds.
And I think that the quality in that team's kind of really been brought to the forefront in the last few games. I think they're four games they've won in a row now going into this. So they're in far better form than we are. And they'll be right up for it. As one of your viewers was saying earlier, this is their best chance at a trophy, and I think they'll really go for it. And they've had success at St James's Park before, so they won't go into it intimidated. It's up to us to cause that intimidation during the game.
Yeah, since they got beat off Forest 7-0, they've beaten Chelsea 2-1. They've beaten Chelsea again 3-0. So it was obviously the FA Cup win, then the Premier League win. They've beaten Southampton 4-0, but everyone's beaten them. But the big result was beating Bournemouth 2-1. And apparently, according to my Brighton fan, Micah, who everyone knows on this channel because he comes on when we do a Premier League show. He said it was a great game of football and both sides went at each other. And it was an end-to-end. It was like a cup game in the Premier League, he said. For us, we obviously lost to Fulham. We beat Arsenal in the cup. We beat Birmingham in the cup. We lost to Man City. Then we beat Forest 4-3. So we're three wins, 2 losses. There 4 wins, 1 loss in the last 5 games. So it's going to be interesting. Right, the Newcastle side. SofaScore, this is what they've gone with. So they think Isak's potentially missing the game. They've kept Gordon and Murphy as the other front 2. Tonali, Miley, and Bruno starting again. Oh no, Willock started on against Liverpool, didn't he? But they're putting Miley in. Target at left back for some strange reason. Dan Burn, Cher, Tino, and Dubravka. They just throw up weird lineups. This is a potential lineup, apparently. I don't agree with most of that, to be honest with you. So I'm going to give you mine now. So I've gone with Dubs and goal. I've dropped Shaw because I think he needs a rest, and I bring Kraft in with Dan Burn, and then use Shaw as a substitute, 60, 65 minutes to maybe give Burn a rest. I still think Hall and Tino keeps the place, but maybe Trips comes in for Tino potentially. It depends because you want Tino's pace, don't you, with, going up against Minter, sorry. I've gone with Tonali, Miley, and Longstaff. And the reason being, I think Bruno needs a rest. And I don't think he'll be rested for the full game. I think he'll do what he did against Bromley and what he did against Birmingham. I think he'll play Tonali for 45 and play Bruno for 45 again. You could throw Willock in there, but again, didn't really pull up trees against Liverpool. Had a great first 45 minutes against Forest. He was superb. And then he dropped off. So I'm just wondering, is he really fully fit? He's had a lot of bad injuries recently, and he's just striving to get back into, his form. Gordon 100% needs a rest. And I know this is getting weaker by the minute. But I just think Gordon needs a rest, especially if he's going to play on Monday night and then in the final, because we've got Forest on the Monday night, haven't we, after this game on Sunday. So I think Barnes should get a go. I think Murphy is the only right winger we've had, and Asula came in for him against Birmingham, and I think he might do the same again. And I'm 50-50 on whether Isak should start if he's fit, and I think he should maybe start Wilson and use Isak as a sub. That's my thinking for the game, because we've got 6 days, then we've got the Monday night, and then we've got 6 days, we've got the final. I think he's got to try and switch it around a little bit, because we are looking a bit jagged at the moment, is probably the best way to describe it.
Yeah, and I think on paper we should go for the strongest side possible, but you're absolutely right. We've had this draining game on Wednesday against a team that ran us ragged for a lot of it. I think one of the interesting things, and that's one of the things that's been debated on a lot in social media in recent days, is Dubravka. And I think the last few games, to me, has proven that Dubravka is the better choice in goal. Full stop.
Yeah,
that would be my 2 cents on it, because I think there's been a few goals we've conceded in the last few games where you've got to look at Nick Pope, and I think those are goals that Dubravka would have prevented. So I absolutely agree with that. I agree with the back line. I do think Cher needs a rest potentially. Kraft is a really reliable replacement.
Underrated.
Yeah, so underrated. I'm a massive fan of his. He's obviously come back from injury recently, so hopefully he's had a bit of training and is up to fitness. And if he is, then I think that should be the back 4. I think Trippier is a great player to bring on. I think, and I would be 50-50 on Trippier against Tino, but I think that pace, as you spoke about on the wings that Brighton have, I think we do need Livramento in there. And Trippier, if we're winning the game and need to defend it for the last 20 minutes, I think he's a great player to bring on, just to bring a bit of calmness to the team. I think he really has that influence when he comes on.
I agree.
To the whole team. And when we're sitting in the commentary box at St James's Park, you can hear him. We're quite close to him, and you can hear him barking out orders. Even if he's on the touchline as a sub, he's doing it. When he's on the pitch, he's obviously doing it as well.
Class.
So I think that's something that would be good to bring on. The midfield, what do I think of that? I think one of the long staff one worries me. That's my only worry, and I think it's just because if it's going to be the game that I think it is, I think it's going to be tense and hotly contested in that midfield, and I haven't been impressed with him, if I'm honest, this season. I like him, and I love to see a local lad make it into the team, and I think he's had some great moments with us. But I think if we're going to take this competition seriously, I think we've got to turn to Bruno, who has got an incredible engine on him. I think he has looked ragged, but I think when he's up for it, I think he can press through that tiredness, and he very rarely gets injured as well. He's not a massive injury risk, Bruno, compared to other players. So I would maybe replace Longstaff with Bruno. I agree with the Miley. I think he deserves a start. I think he's been really great in the games I've seen him playing. And the front three is interesting because Osula on the right, I hadn't actually thought about that as a possibility until I saw that. I think in my mind, yes, Murphy has probably got too comfortable in starting right wing every single game effectively this season. So would it be nice to mix it up a little bit? But then I think Osula, I would love to see him given a chance up front. I really would, and I think he can potentially move to the wing later in the game and bring on a Callum Wilson, and maybe have Murphy to start and bring on Osula because he was brilliant in the last FA Cup game. Obviously, created two of the goals against Birmingham. So yeah, I just I'd thought about Barnes. I'd written down, does Barnes get a start? I think he needs one. I think he needs one because I think we're losing him a little bit. We're losing him. That incredible informed player from Leicester that we signed. We've seen moments, but no real consistency. And I think this is a chance for him to regain some favour with Eddie Howe. So yeah, but overall, I think that's a strong team. I think it could be stronger, and I wonder if he would go stronger in this one. But it depends if his talks just chat or if actually he really is gunning to stay in both these cup competitions this season.
It is going to be interesting. I mean, the reason why I put Osula out on the right wing because that's sort of where he played against Birmingham, and he seemed to enjoy it. He didn't look too out of place, but again, we are talking about a League Two side, maybe a Championship lower league team. So I haven't got carried away like some people have. Everyone's like begging him to get more minutes, and when he came on against Liverpool, his touch was a bit off. And I was just like, is he really going to be the player that everyone wants him to be? Because he's got a great song. Let's not get past that. His song is brilliant. I literally could not stop laughing the first time I heard of it in the stadium.
It is
absolutely brilliant.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
It was the first time I heard it was against Brentford in the Carabao Cup when he came on. And then someone started singing the Feliz Navidad's Christmas song to Nikos Davizas, and I was creased. Who makes these things up?
I always wonder how that happens in the crowd. Like, is someone just making that up on the spot in the crowd, or is it? It's like
this, mate. Listen to this. Sura. Do. Right, let's go. Come on, get everyone involved. And everyone just gets involved.
It happens.
I remember in the Milburn stand when I was way high, like tiny, and 2 rows back, the guy next to us made the Andy Cole song.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And I heard that for the first time.
Made it on the spot.
What are they singing? Well, I don't know if he made it up on the spot, but that's the first time we ever heard it in the ground. And he came, and everyone started singing it, and it obviously became a cult song, didn't it?
I wouldn't have that bravery. I wouldn't have that bravery in the crowd to go, you know what, I've got something.
Especially back then as well, because there's no social media. You can't get the song out there. First of all, you can't say, look, guys, I've got a great song, and put it on Twitter, and everyone starts, oh, that's brilliant. And then it all goes viral. This was just a guy in the seat thought, I'm going to go for it. And he literally could have sank, but he literally flew to the moon with that one. It was brilliant. But yeah, that's why I think Osula plays on the right wing instead of Murphy, because Murphy needs a bit of a rest.
Yeah, I think he was poor against Liverpool.
Yeah.
He wasn't good, and
But is that his level though? This is the thing I've always argued about with Murphy. He come up with the goods against, the mid-table teams, the teams lower league, like Ipswich. He looked like a world beater, didn't he, when he's got his hat trick?
Yeah.
Against Spurs, because we always batter Spurs, don't we? He always has a great game against Spurs. There's games where you look at a player and you go, I throw him straight in. And then when we come against the Man Cities, the Liverpools, the Arsenals, take him out because he just never has a good game against them because everyone's got his number. So,
but unfortunately, we're in a position where we just don't have any other options, and that's the thing. And you know what? I think he's had a great season, and I think he's proved a lot of doubters wrong. I think a lot of people would have written him off last summer and gone, just get rid of this guy and let's get some quality. And that didn't happen. We were left with the team we've got, and you're looking at that right wing, and I think everyone was saying going into the new season that right wing area is going to be a problem. I think it's got better than we could have expected, for sure.
Hell yeah!
To be in the position we're in now, a lot of it thanks to that partnership with Murphy and Isak, who've got, I don't know how many goals between them in terms of goals and assists, but it must be a decent number. I think
it'd be close to double figures, won't it?
I think I saw a table where it's got that sort of partnership, goals and assists type thing, where Harry Kane and Son used to top it every season.
Yes.
I think they were at one stage recently at the top of that table this season in terms of assisting each other. So but I would probably agree with you that he does need a rest. He was good at Osula again on the wing, and he did set up the 2 goals against Birmingham. Brighton.
I'll argue that assist for Wilson was just outrageous.
Not 100% on that one, but my worry is, does he have the discipline to track back? And that's something that Murphy does really, really well.
Yes, he does,
because he can fill in at right back and he knows how to play that role. Is he going to fill in when Brighton, which they like to do, especially on the right hand side, Lamptey, who's got pace and a decent delivery on him? They love to do those overlapping runs, so you're going to have Minte, Matoma, Lamptey running us ragged on the wings. Worst case scenario, is Osuna going to track back and get stuck in? Maybe, and then maybe I've undersold him, but I that would be my worry with that. But like I've just said, we don't have many other choices if we want to rest Murphy.
Exactly. Some interesting stats. Newcastle have won just 2 of the last 15 meetings against Brighton in all competitions. Obviously won 2, drawn 7, lost 6. With all of these coming in the Premier League, they've already lost 1-0 at St James's Park this term. That is frightening, isn't it, when you think about it?
I'm astonished by that. That's a lot worse than I thought it was. I mean, in terms of looking back at past games, the one that always sticks out to me is the Championship game.
Champions League season. Yeah.
The Diame goal.
Yeah, I know which one you mean now. The one where you kind of just blew in the top corner. What the hell was he doing?
Because it was obviously us and Brighton really challenging to push in that season. And I'll never forget what I was watching that goal live at the time and just thinking, the hell have I just watched?
What the hell happened?
I'm stunned by those stats. That's makes for really grim reading. So this is why I say I think we need to put the strongest team out we possibly can, and a game plan to deal with those pacey wingers, because Danny Welbeck looks like if he's going to get a chance, he's going to take it, and
he's a good player.
We can't give him those opportunities.
I mean, we have beaten them quite comfortably once in the last 3. That was the Champions League push in the year when we beat them 4-0. I thought that was the game you were going to allude to, because that's when Bruno scored in the last minute.
That was a good one as well. I think it was that game. They all merge into one these days. But
they do, that one. Brighton have won each of the last 4 FA Cup games against Newcastle without conceding a single goal. I'm making it even worse, aren't I? With this, the first meeting since a 2-0 home win in 2012-13 in the 3rd round. So in the last few games, we haven't even scored a goal past them. This is crazy. Newcastle have progressed with each of their last 9 FA Cup 5th round ties since a 1-0 loss at Blackburn in 1992-1993. The Magpies are looking to reach the quarter-final in consecutive campaigns for the first time since 2004-05, 2005-06. So that just tells you this competition, very hard to get to the later stages, and it's won because of the Ashley era. He wasn't bothered about it. we've been starved of any sort of success in it, really, haven't we?
Yeah, I mean, I'll ask you as well, because we were debating this in the office today. You know, obviously we want to win one of the cups. Obviously,
Yeah.
which one would you rather win? Would you rather the Carabao Cup, which seems to be more comfortable for us in recent seasons, and we seem to learn, or the more on paper prestigious FA Cup? What would you rather be the trophy that we won this season if you had to pick? I know you're going to say that.
No, I'm not. No, the FA Cup.
The FA Cup.
Yeah, everyone's going to say the FA Cup. If you don't say the FA Cup, then you haven't got the history of watching it as a young lad when the FA Cup meant everything.
And I think that's why, for me, we have to take this so much more seriously than we have for such a long time. I mean, God, there's been some horrendous performances in the FA Cup over there.
The thing is, though, everyone you ask that question now, because we're in the final of the Carabao Cup and we're trying to reach the quarterfinals of an FA Cup, if you lose the Carabao Cup and you're hoping to win the FA Cup, you still got to get to a semi-final and then get to the final and hope you have a decent draw. So this is why the Carabao Cup being played at this time of the year and the final being 3/4 way through the season is a bit silly, because you are putting pressure on teams like us, like a Brighton or West Ham or anyone who gets to a final. They are going to start dreaming, because we're not used to being in finals. For Liverpool, this is just, they don't care about the Carabao Cup. They're like, oh, we've almost got the league won. We're still in the Champions League. Oh, we've got a Carabao Cup final. We're going to have to put up with that as well, aren't we? That's the way they think about that trophy. We're like, wow, we're in the final.
Well, you know what? And this is the thing, and it's kind of that whole kind of dynamic was proved this week, because I obviously do stuff for Radio Tyneside, but the commentary stuff, I also work as a newsreader for Bauer, which basically there's news teams in all over the country. I work obviously the one in Newcastle. There's a team in Liverpool, and we were obviously discussing the plans for going down to Wembley, and there was an argument to say, well, let's bring a reporter down to cover the Liverpool side of things, and obviously me going down to cover the Newcastle side of things. And the response from the Liverpool team down, the news team there, was, nah, we just don't care.
Exactly.
It's a big deal. It's not a big news story. Obviously, it'll be Arne Slot's first trophy, so there's a news line in that from a journalist's point of view. But in terms of major silverware, that's not what they're after. So, and we got to take some a crumb of comfort out of that, I suppose. In that, they have their eyes set on, their sights set on, I should say, bigger things, and this is massive for us. But I think, going into the final, and I feel like that's all we talk about these days, but it is the thing that everyone's talking about. I think this time will be so different. I think I said this on last time I was on with you guys. It's going to be a lot less emotional this time. There's going to obviously be a lot of excitement, and we're in another final, a chance to end that drought. But I remember going down to London for that first final against Manchester United, and you're interviewing fans in Trafalgar Square and what have you, and there's people crying, there's people in tears. It's too overwhelming. It was too overwhelming. The whole occasion was beautiful as a weekend, but it was too overwhelming, and I think that went onto the pitch. And I think this time we're in a very different place, where we've been there. Didn't go obviously according to plan, but there is a lot of those players that played in that game will be playing again.
It feels like revenge in a way, doesn't it, on that trophy? It's just like we're coming to put in a better performance this time. We're coming for it. We're ready this time, sort of thing.
Yeah, I mean, I just remember, from a journalist point of view, the build up to that game. It was every day we were running stuff. It wasn't necessarily my decision, but every day it would be interviewing this person who's still got their scarf from the
those ones,
the last trophy win, and my dad would have been so proud of this, and these are beautiful stories and so nice, but also it was just adding so much intense pressure onto the game. We know what it would mean to win it. I can
imagine some of the interviews now. We found George was 106 when we last won a cup.
This is it. It's all that kind of stuff. We're guilty of doing that in the media, because it makes good content, and people we'll engage with it, and it's nice. It's nice.
It is
these moments, but
sort of.
sort of.
There was a funny thing I was just thought of as well. It's just like this is how we view the Carabao Cup, and this is how Liverpool view the Carabao Cup. So you imagine it's like you're asking, there's the Premier League, the FA Cup, the Carabao Cup, and the Champions League. Champions League's obviously the prettiest scale. The Premier League's second prettiest, and then it goes down to the Carabao. So you start at the top, and then Liverpool are like, yeah, we start at the top. Newcastle are like just happy to get the Carabao Cup and get to the prom.
This is like my childhood. That's a perfect description. I was always after the Carabao Cup.
Exactly.
Uni. But you're right. That's not what Liverpool want their season to be known for. They're going to win the Premier League. There's no doubt in my mind about that. They could well win the Champions League as well, and that's going to be their focus. But
yeah. And they're in great positions to win both of them, really, aren't they? I mean, the league's almost done and dusted. The Champions League's obviously going to be difficult because they're playing PSG. And that's another thing that could fall in our favour, because both legs are before the final. I thought one was before and one was after, but they're not. So they've got to put a lot of effort into those two legs. So I'm hoping for first leg, they're at home. I can't remember if they're home or away.
I can't remember.
But what I want is either a Liverpool 1-0 win or a PSG 2-1 win. Like so tight, so that the second leg's got everything to play for.
Yeah.
And I don't want Liverpool to win 4-0 at home and then go away and just kind of sit back and soak it all up and then win the tie comfortably. We want two really difficult games. And is it too much to ask for extra time and penalties as well?
And ACL injury to Salah.
Yeah, Salah gets injured. Van Dijk breaks his leg.
I wouldn't wish any pain on anyone.
No, I wouldn't.
But those are two intense games where they, if they're looking at that 2-week period, 3-week period, that's their priority. It's not this game.
Of course, it's not.
It's not this game. So you would hope maybe we get some advantage through that. But I mean, if Newcastle win that final, that would be quite possibly one of the greatest performances. Obviously, forgetting it means a trophy, but just individual performances from a Newcastle team there would ever have been to topple a team like that. So many of their players have featured in finals over the years. They've got so much experience in that position. And a manager who clearly is just taken on the baton from Klopp and made that team better somehow. I
don't know what he's done with Salah.
It's ridiculous. And that will be the key is stopping Salah. And I mean, what a job Lewis Hall has on his hands if he is the one to,
and he did it brilliantly on Wednesday night, didn't he?
I think he did a good job, and I thought
he was brilliant.
But yeah, and there's the thing: you stop Salah, great, but then you've got so many other threats in that team.
Szoboszlai, McAllister, Trent, Diaz, Jota.
Yeah.
I tell you how good Lewis Hall was, and I forgot to mention this on yesterday night, is that Salah had a 6.9 rating on SofaScore. Now, bearing in mind his rating, his average rating this season is 8.4. And on Wednesday night, Lewis Hall was that good. Salah only had a 6.9 average, and he got an assist. So that tells you how good Lewis Hall was.
And it also shows you how good Salah is, because to have played averagely,
below average, just below.
And just below, and to have had a tough game against Lewis Hall, he still gets an assist.
I know.
He still has an influence on the game. He is terrifying.
He's a monster. He's a monster, isn't he?
Terrifying. But we have, on our day, as we've seen this season and a couple of seasons now, we have the ability to beat any team. If everyone's up for it, if the mentality of that team is right, if we've got the right players fit, absolutely we can do it. So, and what a night that will be in London if we do.
Right. I hope everyone's enjoying the preview to the cup final.
Yeah, I was going to say, we are playing Brighton this Sunday. I know, it's the thing. Everything's And then you can see why the players get distracted now.
Yeah, exactly. We just got distracted completely. Yeah. Apparently, Sheffield Wednesday are drawn with Sunderland. And Leslie would like to know if you've got any inside information on pre-season. Hong Kong tour, is that definitely something they're really thinking of? Because Leslie's son lives in Hong Kong and she wants to fly over there to watch it.
Oh, that'd be lovely. I get bits and bobs sometimes from club and other things, but I'm not 100%. I know that other journalists have reported that is
potential. I think they're looking at is what they've been saying.
You hear lots of things from various things. I wouldn't want to say that that's confirmed at all, but I think there is a lot in that. And yeah, that would be great for fans out in Hong Kong. We've seen obviously the fellas that you get on this podcast at America. Yes. There's a really strong following there. It'd be great to get more following out in Hong Kong, and yeah, I think that would be a fun tour. That would be a fun tour. It'd be good to go out there. I wouldn't want to confirm anything. I think that it's been looked at though.
It's expensive. Plane flights. We do not want to be putting anything out there that's not going to happen.
I'm not sure I'll go, but it'll be good for the players. I don't know. No
well, if it's been reported in Hong Kong, it definitely sounds like it's almost done, Leslie. So get your tickets booked. I've got 2 more facts for tonight, and then we're going to get our score predictions. This one's a great one. I just find it funny because he's not that good yet. Newcastle's William Osler averages a goal and assist every 48 minutes in the FA Cup, scoring 7 and assisting 3 across 7 appearances in the competition, 480 minutes. Obviously Sheffield United as well.
Yeah.
But that's brilliant fact.
That's brilliant.
And this is one we've got to be careful of. With 4 goals and 2 assists, Brighton's Rutter has been involved in 6 goals in the last 3 appearances in the FA Cup. So he obviously likes the competition, that lad, doesn't he?
I remember when I lived in Leeds and obviously used to play for Leeds United, and that was you could see a good player in there. And when he got that move to Brighton, it's he's got a lot of quality, and it's quite nice because obviously I've always been a Newcastle fan, but when you report in City, you're more closely covering that team, and it's always quite nice to see players. Billing who played for Huddersfield Town. I remember watching when I was in Chesterfield when he was playing for Chesterfield FC. It's always nice to see those players. You think he looked quite good, and I've still got the notes from that game saying Billing, he's pretty good, and to see them get a chance in the Premier League is great. So yeah, that's a concerning stat though.
It is.
He has a game on Sunday, but
snap. One last topic before we get our scores. I forgot all about it, and someone reminded me in the chat early on, and I've just kind of skipped past it because we've been talking about some great stuff. But semi-automated offside has been tested in the FA Cup this weekend. Are you a fan? I really am a fan, and I've been wanting this in since the start of the season. But I don't understand why it hasn't been. But this is a game changer, isn't it? It's got to be.
It's a no-brainer. It's an absolute no-brainer. Yeah. Seen countless times in Newcastle games and all the other games, these offside decisions that take minutes for the referees to sort out. They're getting the lines out and all this kind of thing. And I think that obviously is frustrating for fans in the stadium and fans watching at home. Because you don't really get an insight to communication. I know that in I think it was in the Carabao Cup in the last round, they tried out the referee announcements.
Yeah, the referee being mic'd up. Yeah,
I think that's good.
You enjoyed it. I wasn't a fan. I was just like, this is turning into WWE. This
I loved it. I think it was great because it just humanized the refs. I think, and also I think as a fan in the stands, I'm in a privileged position in that we get in the commentary box a little VAR screen and we can see things going on.
Right.
From a fan's point of view, you don't get that, and I think it's quite nice to have that thing. So yeah, and I think the semi-automated, it's astonishing that it's taken this long to really get into English football.
That can't be true.
What's this?
They've only heard that's on one end of the pitch. That can't be true. That's
I
don't know who's been. I hope it's not. I'm not going to rule anything out, though.
I've not seen that, and now I don't want to say definitely not in case I miss something. But I'd be astonished if
Yeah, you can't have it in one half of the pitch.
I need to do some more reading on it, clearly, but
Yeah,
I don't know. But
I think I do now.
yeah, yeah. You do some googling while I.
Yeah.
But the other problem with the current VAR situation is obviously it causes a lot of added time, and
Yeah,
these
it does.
go on for ages. And if you're defending a lead or it's a tight game, it's an absolute nightmare. So no, I think it's the right thing to do. It should have been brought in as soon as it was available as a technology.
Well, the rumor I heard was that Adidas own the technology and the chip in the ball.
I've
obviously,
heard that as well. Yeah, heard that as well, and it wouldn't surprise me if it's some sort of ridiculous commercial dispute that's the reason. Because there's no logical reasons why we wouldn't have it otherwise. Why else would you not have it if it's not for just some ridiculous dispute? I'm sure the referees association will say something different, but yeah, it's long overdue.
It is massively long overdue. It's I watched it in the Champions League and I was just like, why have we not got this in the Premier League? And then they announced they were going to have it this season. I was buzzing, and then they went, "Oh, we're delaying it." I was just like, "What are you playing at?"
Yeah, any change in football takes time, as we found out in this sport. So, I mean, we'll get there.
Yeah, and then this is a good change. This is finally something I agree with. Not all these handballs, sub rules, and all this sort of stuff. This is something that's just a no-brainer. Get it done. But like goal line technology, such a no-brainer.
Yeah, it's in that category, isn't it? It's just black or white. You know, isn't it? It's not a contentious thing whether something's offside or not. It's just one way or the other, and there's no objectivity to it.
Yeah, and we got used to it in the Champions League, as we mentioned here, the PSG game. Everyone didn't know what was going on. They checked everything, semi-automated offside, showed everything correctly. You know, just get it done. Right, score prediction for Sunday. It's going to be a tight one. It's going to be a difficult one. I can't see it being a goal thriller. What are you going for?
I think it will go to extra time.
Ooh, so a draw.
I'm thinking it'll be 1-1. I think we'll start well. We'll probably score first. Brighton will get back into it, score a late goal. They'll go to extra time, and I think we will win it. I think that extra time push. I think the atmosphere will pick up. I think there's been some criticism in recent weeks about whether the atmosphere has been slightly depleted in recent games. It's hard for me to tell when I'm in the commentary box in terms of having headphones on and stuff. I've always thought it's pretty good. I've not noticed like a massive kind of decline in it, but I think an extra time cup game at St James's Park, I think that will give us momentum. I think we'll win 2-1 in extra time. That's my prediction.
Very quickly on the atmosphere, I think a lot of people set the bar too high when they see the likes of the Arsenal atmosphere, like a Man United atmosphere, that they expect that to happen when we play Ipswich. You know, the emotion's not in those games as much as it's in the big ones, because you know, we kind of go to the ground when you're playing Ipswich at home. You kind of think, well, we're going to win this game. You know, but when we're playing a Man United or an Arsenal or a Liverpool at home, we know how vital we are as a crowd in those games, and I think that's why it's louder. And war flags also make it more difficult for the smaller games, because the bigger games are put on massive displays. The smaller games, they don't bother, and maybe that also affects the crowd a little bit as well. I don't know, but
there might be something in that. I'm hesitant to criticise war flags at all, of course, but I get.
I'm definitely not criticising them. I just think sometimes they need a big display for a smaller game to maybe get the crowd going as well.
Yeah, and I think that's the transition we are in as a Newcastle fan base is that there is potentially some complacency going into these games, and I think there is an element of, well, you know, we're in the Champions League, we're finishing higher up the table now. These games are rollovers, but you know, I have a good enough memory to remember when those games against those lower league sides were actually the best atmosphere. At James's Park, because they meant the most. It's always about the games that mean the most. So, like I said earlier, I don't think there's much in there. I think the atmosphere can dip now and again, but I think in a game against a Premier League side, to get into the quarterfinals of an FA Cup, if it goes to extra time, I think it'll be a good atmosphere. So that's 2-1. What are you thinking?
I've actually gone 2-1 on my Super 6 because I never back against us. Apart from on Wednesday night, I did actually go 3-1 to Liverpool.
Did you?
I did. I got my 2 points. But yeah, I know that's first time ever this season I've actually backed against us, and I was right.
Well, I went 2-2, so you're the smart one there.
I think 2-1. I think it'll be nip and tuck, and I do think it'll be a late goal, but I think it'll be a late winner rather than going into extra time.
Okay.
I don't want penalties. Even though we've actually been quite good at penalty shootouts recently, I still don't want penalties.
We want that pressure on the players at St James's Park with everything else going on.
Exactly.
I think, if he starts the weaker side, that potentially he might do.
Well, this is my thinking. He starts the weaker side. The game's at 1-1. It's on the knife edge. You look to your bench. You bring Bruno on. You bring Isak on. You bring Willock on. You bring the pace on and try and win the game before it goes to extra time. That's sort of my thinking behind it. But you've got to be in the game for that to work. That's the other side of it.
There's a balance. There's a balance.
And there's a risk.
I think we're both in agreement. It's going to be a tight game. I think, to be fair, I predicted that the Birmingham game would be tight, and I think that we very nearly had some problems in that one, but luckily we rescued it in the last 10 minutes, whatever it was. So
82nd minute, I think it was.
With Willock, wasn't it? So I think it's going to be really tight. Brighton obviously saw off Chelsea to get to this game 2-1. Chelsea obviously been slightly out of sorts recently, but they are a very good team. So this is going to be tough. But thank God it's at home, because I think if it wasn't, we would not be the favourites going into this game.
Oh, definitely not. I'm going to be really controversial before we go right on the end on the atmosphere. It's never been as good as it was when we had a 32-seater 1,000 stadium.
Oh yeah, I've never had the privilege, so I can't comment.
I luckily did, and when we moved to the bigger stand, it started dying down a little bit. But I also think our away fans, our away support is just so fantastic. They sing through 90 minutes, apart from on Wednesday night. Every other game, it makes every home ground seem like it's not a home ground. But when we're at home, those guys aren't really at games because they're kind of away specialists, aren't they? And then they're mixed around in the stadium. They're not together. This is where the singing section comes into it and all that sort of stuff. So.
Yeah, I think there's something, if it is going to be a new stadium, which obviously is a whole different topic, and I don't want to get fully into it because otherwise we'll be here all night. But if it is to be a new stadium, there has to be some thought about that. There has to be some thought about, because you look at places like West Ham moving into that Olympic Stadium. There was protests the other day at that game about being in that stadium because they just feel so disconnected to what's going on. Slightly different because obviously that wasn't a purpose-built football stadium. It was an
Olympic stadium, wasn't it? So
there's a lot of distance between the stands and the pitch, but that has to be a consideration. And again, it's a massive topic, and I know I was about to go on a whole little. I appreciate people will need to get on with their Friday nights. It's too contentious to get into now, but yeah.
But you're right. You are right. It does need to be considered. But I think we spoke about this a few times on the show. Singing sections, all that sort of stuff, standing areas, all need to be considered because we've got it wrong at St James's Park. The standing area is actually in the away end.
Yeah.
And then there's obviously the one on the other side. There's a lot to think about, but I'm sure they'll get it right because they'll do the right thing this time. Fingers crossed. Very, very quickly for everyone who's watching still, there's 3 games to keep an eye out for because they've been changed. Villa, we've got a 5:30 kickoff on the 19th of April now. King Power Stadium, Leicester game is an 8 p.m. kickoff. I'm not thinking about the fans at all with that one. It is, isn't it? I'm not thinking about you either as someone who's got a report on the game if you're going down to it.
It's shocking, yeah. No, it is.
And then we've got Man United on a 4:30 kickoff on the 13th. That's probably a Sunday afternoon kickoff, which is not bad at all. But that Leicester one is terrible. But Henry, it's great to see you. Great to see you on your feet as well and that you're doing well after what happened. Thanks for doing this. It's been an absolute pleasure. And I'll definitely see you down at Wembley for a chat. And so will John. Be looking forward to it.
I'd love to meet John as well. That'd be fantastic.
Yes.
Yeah,
I was hoping John would make it tonight, but he hasn't, unfortunately. I think
Yeah.
he's watching the game in the pub somewhere.
Get you both on the radio for sure. And when we're down there, that'd be great. Yeah, no swearing. But
I will do my best.
Depends how many pints you had, but we'll see.
Yeah. I won't swear. I promise. I'll hold my tongue. But thank you everyone in the chat as well. It's been great, and let's hope we are still in both competitions after the weekend. Let's just get through it and just support the lads and enjoy your weekend, everyone. Take care.
Cheers.